Hey guys, you're watching Daniel and Gian React, and today we are going to do something a little different. This is a follow-up video to Chak the India, the review we did last week. We had a lot of comments that pretty much touched upon the same exact thing in each one, and we kind of wanted to respond and give you our take on these comments.
Not in a defensive way.
Not in a defensive at all.
Just to continue the conversations.
Yeah. So a lot of people were mentioning to us that this was based on a true story. So that's why they didn't change parts of the storyline that we thought could have been improved. And that's fine. We went into it not knowing that it was based on a true story. In fact, I could probably, there's a few comments that said it wasn't based on a true story. And at the beginning of the movie, there's that disclaimer that says, this is not based on a true story, and any characters that it may resemble are just mere coincidence. I know that has a lot to do with not getting sued. But either way, regardless, if it was a biopic or not, it doesn't matter.
That's still a story concern.
It's still,
like our concerns were story, and that's one of the problems. I know Gian, that's why he doesn't like biopics, because you're stuck to the story.
Right.
You can't get away from it. You can't enhance it. So let's just make something up. If such and such person died at the age of 30, you got to make that story interesting by the time he dies.
Exactly.
You know he's going to die or something like that.
And when it comes to biopics, there's always stuff that's not like, that people don't know about, that's made up specifically for cinematic purposes.
So you can't really, not you, but people really can't throw around the true story. Unless it's a documentary.
Right.
There's always going to be some liberties taken.
And even then in documentaries, they change stuff up with editing. They edit it to make things interesting, because we don't want to see someone brushing his teeth and eating breakfast every day. You know, that's not cinematically appealing to anyone.
Unless he's a dentist who also created like cereal, then
right.
like you might want to watch him brush his teeth with cereal.
Or a dentist that brushes his teeth with Coke. You know,
cocaine, not the soda.
I was actually saying the soda. Like he uses a soda to clean his teeth.
I was gonna say, I guess that doesn't make sense if you brush your teeth with cocaine.
Yeah, no, that was what was behind our commentary. And you know, just what we saw. It's not right or wrong. It's completely subjective.
I had brought up Inglourious Basterds in the comments, and the reason why I did that is because that wasn't based on a true story per se. But World War II did happen. Nazis were real. Hitler was a real person.
And those were real people in there. Not just Hitler, but Goebbels.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just that. It was the fact that by the end of the movie, because the whole movie is about killing Hitler, and spoilers if you haven't seen it, at least me, when I watched it, I expected Hitler to not die. Because history says Hitler died in the bunker by a self-gunshot.
Gunshot, yeah.
But how does he die in Inglourious Basterds? Well, he gets shot to pieces by two of the bastards.
Actually reminiscent of Gangs of Wasseypur. Very similar.
Yes. Minus the music.
Yeah.
But you had the screams of terror from the Nazis who were burning alive.
Yeah, there's also a fire as well. Yeah.
So I say that to say, Quentin Tarantino could have said, you know what, Hitler died in this specific way, so we're going to make sure he doesn't die in this movie. But he said, F that. I'm going to do what I want to do because it's going to make it a better movie. And sometimes that's what you got to do. I mean, in my opinion, obviously this is our opinions. We didn't make this movie. Who knows? Maybe that was an essential part of it where, I don't know. Clearly, this is just addressing the based on the true story comment.
And that leads into the next comment that we saw a lot of, that the reason why this was such a big deal at the beginning of the movie was because of anti-Muslim sentiment. And because we're not well versed in that, we did not pick up that at all.
Went right over
they didn't mention it in the movie. They don't talk anything about religion in the movie. We just know his last name is Khan, so obviously he's Muslim. But other than that, like I didn't think twice about that. And I mean, now it makes sense. Yeah, like
but even now,
they lost to Pakistan, which is a Muslim country. Hated, they're not friends. India and Pakistan aren't friends. And to be seen like shaking their hands at the end of the match, like I get it. Now that makes a little more sense to me. But even still, though, I feel like it was not something that
the filmmakers could have made it super obvious.
Yeah, and we didn't feel like that was an element of the movie whatsoever. And like I said, that goes back to, if you watch the review, I feel like a lot of people commenting only watched like the first part of the review, not all of it, but I brought that up because I thought that the character itself didn't need a redemption story because he did nothing wrong, And even though it looks like he did something wrong, if anything, it should have been him proving his innocence.
I mean, what would have been a better take on it, where someone would have went to go shake his hand and he would have went, spit on it and walked away, and then everyone would, ah! I mean, I don't know. I'm genuinely asking.
Yeah.
I mean, but obviously you wouldn't have been able to do that for the movie,
right?
Because people believe it needs to be adhered to what it was based on, and that obviously didn't happen. But it's I don't know, because okay, let me put it this way. Let's say he did spit on someone's hand, and it wasn't against Pakistan, and it was someone else. I could totally see how people shame him.
Yeah.
That's unsportsmanlike, that's whatever, and then maybe he has to redeem himself. But even then, I mean, that's what our...
But knowing that background, if that's the reason why people were spitting on him and basically forced him out of his village...
It makes more sense.
That makes more sense because they saw him as a traitor and not a traitor to India, but, a traitor to India, obviously. But that makes more sense, but I didn't pick up on that, and I feel like maybe if we were more versed in that conflict, it would have made more sense to us.
Because I know it was bad.
But, I mean, the movie wasn't, the movie wasn't made for us. We're not, it wasn't made for American viewers. So that's part of it, too. I'm trying to think what kind of movies do you have here that are, made for Americans that the background before it, where you don't need a backstory at the beginning of it.
I don't know. It's hard to tell because most movies now are made with that in mind. They're going to explain to you things. Even movies like Gangs of New York or something, which is an American story,
right?
Scorsese's still going to do some explaining.
Well, I don't think American movies are made for Americans anymore, to be completely honest with you. They're made for the global market in mind because they make so much more money by having it be huge in China and in other parts of the world. I mean, you guys, we don't really know how well American movies do in India. Some of you guys, there's varied reviews on it. Sometimes people say, Fast and the Furious was huge in India, just like it was huge everywhere else. But then other movies, not so much. So we don't really have a gauge for that. But that's
and we still don't know how much American films are flooding Indian cinema markets. Because I mean, it's not like England, which they produce a lot of movies, but I can almost guarantee you their movie theaters will probably be flooded with more American films than English-specific movies. But I feel like if I went to India, there'd be a lot of Indian films because they have their whole industry there.
That's a bigger industry, too. I've been to Spain, I've been to Germany, and they definitely have American films, the big blockbusters in their theaters. But that's just how it is. But and the last part about this, another comment that we didn't realize, and now it makes sense why there's so much sentimental value attached to this film, is that it was the first of its kind in Bollywood and possibly Indian cinema in general.
Which we didn't know at all.
No, I had no idea, and it makes sense because it has the same sports movie tropes that
we're so used to it because I've been seeing them since I've been alive, basically. And when do you think they started the 80s? When they started doing
like these inspirational sports movies?
Where you kind of know the plot and you kind of know the beats, where things are going, characters.
That's a good question. I would say depends on the movie. It could have started in the 70s for all we know. We'd have to look up a list of sports movies.
When did Rocky come out? That was in the 70s.
That was 70s, yeah.
So, and that kind of counts. So maybe it was the 70s.
Yeah, and that might have been Rocky might have been the first kind of inspirational sports movie.
Because when we said it in the review, when we watched Chak Day, it wasn't groundbreaking. Dangal, I felt was putting something new to the game. They were changing it up a little bit. They were definitely throwing some new influences in there and just, making it modern. Chak Day felt like a movie that could have came out in the 90s here in the States, which is not a bad thing. I'm just saying that, when we saw it, it just felt like...
Those are the things we're picking up on.
Yeah, one of the things that we've seen before. We brought up Mighty Ducks, which some of you might not have ever heard of Mighty Ducks. I shouldn't assume that, but if you haven't, it's a kids movie about ice hockey, basically.
Yeah.
And same plot elements. You brought up Bad News Bears. That was 70s.
Too, yeah.
So also the same type of thing where you have these down and out people, the outcasts who aren't really looked very highly of, and then all of a sudden they go and win it all, or maybe lose at the very end. But they became a team, so it doesn't really matter that they lost, which is similar to Rocky. He didn't win, but he won by going 12. Did he go 12 rounds with him?
Yeah, he went the full. I think it was 15 rounds.
15 rounds. You know, so it's a personal victory as opposed to an actual victory.
It's an inspirational film.
Right.
You know, so
Rudy was not the same type of thing, but it's also an inspirational.
Rudy was based on that was a biopic in a sense.
But that's a good movie.
Yeah.
Rudy's good. If you haven't seen Rudy and you're of age to like go to college, obviously everyone's recommending we watch 3 Idiots, and we will. But I know when I saw Rudy when I was growing up, but and it's college football, so maybe it won't be as relatable. But we also took a chance watching a movie about field hockey that we wouldn't even take 5 seconds to watch on TV.
And also, if you guys want, I will totally do a video explaining college sports and their relevance in the U.S. because it's something very unique to this country. I know no other country celebrates college athletics the way that we do here.
It's basically like pros.
It's another
pre-pros.
It's just another level of pro sports, basically.
But anyway, to summarize real quick, Rudy's like super inspirational. It makes you like actually feel good about yourself because it's about this chubby, well, maybe me because I was a fat kid, but it's like this chubby fat kid, and his dream was just to play for this football team, Notre Dame to be specific. And I won't spoil it.
So much. He was short.
Short.
Very small.
Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, it's a good movie. I recommend it.
Yeah, it's got Sean Astin. So if you're a
From
Lord of the Rings fan, you know he plays Samwise Gamgee. Oh, Sam.
The Fat Hobbit.
Yeah. Fat Hobbit says. That's a terrible Gollum. That's the response to that, you know. And I want to talk about context. Had we known the significance of Chak to India, I think we would have viewed it a little differently.
Oh, 100%.
It's kind of like one of my favorite things to do is talk to people about Citizen Kane. So Citizen Kane is highly regarded here as one of the greatest movies ever made.
And it is.
It came out. And Daniel says it is.
But you have to look at it within the context of 1941. In 1941.
Exactly. The things that they did in 1941
were beyond groundbreaking.
Yeah, they were amazing. They said a lot of stuff. Like the lens. What was the lens they used? They used one lens for the entire movie because that's all they could afford.
But they were doing things like digging holes in the ground to get like really low angle shots. They were doing. And it's not even just that, it's the way that they edited the movie, the way that they told it in a backstory, and all. And the story, just the story itself. You could watch Citizen Kane now, and you'll have the feeling like, oh, this is old, it's black and white, but you'll see modern filmmaking techniques in a 1941 movie, which is just unheard of at the time.
So it's something they show at film school. It's something, if you went to film school, you've seen this movie, at least here in the States. Every film school, that's the one they like harp on.
No, I feel like if you go to any film school, if you don't watch Citizen Kane, you're not studying movies.
Well, you know,
because it's not about America. It's not to me. It's not about this is American cinema versus not. It's just.
I'm just saying. Now we're getting a little.
It's just. I'm just saying, man.
Now we're getting a little elitist here, but anyways, the reason why I bring that up is because if you go and watch that movie now without any sort of background on it, not knowing any of this stuff, you're probably gonna be bored out of your mind. You're gonna think it's like you're just gonna shrug your shoulders and be like, whatever. You know, it's not gonna move your world. Gone with the Wind is another one. If you watch that, it came out in the late 1930s, early 1940s as well. Very big production, a lot of difficult, crazy stuff happened on that film. But if you watch it now and you try to compare it to like a modern epic, you're gonna be like, you're gonna be underwhelmed. Is what I'm getting at. So context really affects the way that we watch things and the way you should watch things.
Yeah, we get. I hate to say it, but like we got trained to do it that way.
Yeah. Because
we had to write papers and crap on it. So if we were to just say, "Oh, this movie sucks," and just dismiss it because it's old, we would have failed all our classes. So like USC forces you to look at it that way, which kind of sucks because you can't watch. Well, it sucks on one hand because you can't watch a movie by just watching it anymore.
It's hard to turn off that.
But it's good because it also allows you to appreciate more of the intricacies of film. But anyway, so yeah, the context does matter. If we would have known that like that was the first of its kind, I would have been like, oh shit, okay. You know, there's some shortcomings here, but for the most part, it nailed the landing.
Right.
Which is something, which it did, and we could say that in retrospect. But you know, it still wouldn't change my opinion in regards to like what I felt was wrong with the movie or anything like that. It would have just helped us to maybe overlook.
I think I would have came at it in a different light. You know, I would have came at it differently than I did. But you know, I still enjoyed the movie.
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't. Yeah, like I think some people thought we hated the movie. We didn't hate the movie at all. You know, we enjoyed it. You know, for the most part. All right, and that's gonna do it for us, folks. Thanks for watching. You know the drill. Smash that like, ring that bell, hit the subscribe button, leave comments, let us know what you think. Check out some of these other videos we have over here, and we'll see you soon.